take joy, my King, in what you hear. Let it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. As the deep panteth for the waters of my soul, longs after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend, and you are my brother, even though you are my King. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. And I long to worship thee. And I long to worship thee.
Our message for this evening is directed everybody, but I have the young women in mind. I have a very soft spot for the Yom. I still belong there by solidarity. Someone said, never let an old person into your body. I am that one. I'm 43 going on 33. So I was upset at one church. They're making an announcement. There is a youth program taking place next Sunday, wherever. But then they had to be specific. It is for youth between 21 and 35. I said I am going.
Eba ke re ke a.
I'm looking for the guy that's going to ask me for my ID.
Ke tlo sheba motho a tlo batla ID ya ka.
So the message this evening is for us young women.
Molaetsa ona kwa rona ba banyane.
It's for us.
Ke wa rona.
Tomorrow I will speak a message
Ho sa se ke tla bua.
for us older women.
O bakeng sa rona ba baholonyana.
Okay, our memory text for those of you who are interested
Ba batlang ho tseba temana rona
is John chapter 8 verse 36. I'm going to read it for you.
Re tlo e bala ho Johane 8:30.
So if the Son sets you free,
Ha mora a o lokolla,
you are free indeed.
o fela o lokollohile.
If you have not caught it yet,
Ha ba o so e utlwa,
the theme for the weekend is thou art loosed.
le a tseba,
You are free.
le lokolohile,
You are free.
le lokolohile,
You are free.
le lokolohile.
I'm going to try and not shout this evening.
Ke tlo leka hore ke se ka hweletsa.
I don't think the message needs to be preached.
Ha ke dumele hore molaetsa o
It's
hloka
going
hore
to be
o
more
utlwe.
of a lecture this evening.
O hloka hore le mamele.
And if it was ordinary, I would even take questions, but we won't do that. So I'm not going to preach. I'm going to try and lecture.
A ke re la tseba ka Sotho mantswe a mabedi a wa tshwana. Fela he o tla leka hore a ska ruta ena o ruta, o tla leka hore a rute hantle hore re utlwe. Nna ka nna nka le dipotso empa he.
All right.
Ha re na etsa jwalo.
I heard that. Now, the first thing I want to do, so our story, I like to build a message around a character.
Ke rata hore ke bue ka motho ha ke na le pale e be
And I'm
ke
going
bua
to
ka
do that
motho.
throughout the weekend. I like to build around a character. So this morning, we were building around who? Around my friend Peter.
Jwale ka ha re tla hoseng re ne re
So
bua ka
this
Pentecost
evening,
tsena,
our story is around Queen Esther.
mantsibunyana re tla bua ka Esther.
So I said the
Mofumahadi.
young ladies are going to love this one. But all of us will benefit. So, but before I go to Esther,
Pele ke bua ka Esther.
I wanted for us to quickly discuss the difference between these two very important words.
Ke batla hore re tle re utlwise phapang pakeng tsa ntho tse pedi
The
tsena.
difference between liberty
Phapano pakeng tsa tokoloho.
and freedom. Yeah, don't worry, Xhosa has got the same problem. In Xhosa, it's exactly the same thing and it doesn't mean the same thing. But I'm sure all of us here understand English, right? But I'm going to try and explain it and then it will be clear.
Ke tla leka ho e hlalosa hore na phapang ke efeng pakeng tsa tokoloho le tokoloho.
I'm going to give you an illustration that will let us know exactly what liberty means and what freedom means.
Ke tla le fa papiso e tla etsa hore tle le utlwise phapano.
But there's an author who defines it so well for me.
Empa hona le sengwe se seng se hlalosang.
His name is Stephen Covey.
Bitso la hae ke Leo Stephen.
Stephen says liberty is a condition of the environment.
O go tokoloho ena ya pele ke maemo a sebaka seo re leng ho sona.
Freedom is a condition of the person.
Tokoloho ya botho ke ho lokoloha ha motho.
Let me explain.
Ha ke e hlalosa.
I hope you know Nelson Mandela. Please tell me yes.
Ke tshepa hore le tseba Nelson
Mandela was in prison for 27 years.
Mandela o la dula toronko le
For 27 years, he had no liberty.
Lemong tsa 27 o na se
In other
tokoloho.
words, in terms of the environment he was bound, there are things he could not do. Are you with me?
Ka baka la mona le teng na le tsena a sitwa ho di
But
etsa.
Mandela was free for 27 years.
Empa yena o ne a ntse a lokollohile
So while he
yena e
was
le motho.
bound by the conditions of the prison,
Le ha e le mona a na le
the
ka hara
person
toronko,
inside of him was free.
motho a ka ho yena o na
How
ntse
do
ba
I know?
lokollohile. Ke tseba jwang?
When he came out of prison,
Ha a tswa
the
toronkong,
first people he forgave are the ones that put him in prison for 27 years.
batho ba pele ba ile a ba
Go and read
a ba
the book Long
tshwarela.
Walk to Freedom.
Ke bana ba mo kentseng
At some
toronkong.
point, they asked him to dig a grave.
Neng ba ile ba re a tjheke lebitla.
A dig, and he kept digging until he could not be visible inside the grave.
Ya ba o ntse a tjheka ho fihlela
And
a sa
he
bonahala.
thought, this is the day I'm going to die.
Ya ba o ka ba wa shwa tsatsing
They
leo.
put him inside the grave,
Ba mo kenya ka lebitleng.
and then he thought the next thing that's going to come, the soil is coming on me.
Ya ba o ka ba se ba tlo kwa ena.
They put him in the grave just so that they could urinate on him.
Ya ba ka ntha ba qeta mono ba fasolla
But those are some of the people he invited to his inauguration.
Empa bona ba o hula
So
ba
this man
mema
had
hore
no
ba tle
liberty.
ha e ba
Had no
president.
liberty, but he was free.
O na sena tokoloho ka nako ne
Are you getting what I'm saying?
O na lokolohile.
So liberty is a condition of the person.
Tokoloho ena ke ya
But no. Liberty is the condition of the environment, sorry.
Okay. Ena ya pele ke ya hore ke ya mo sebaka se.
But freedom is the condition of the person.
Empa tokoloho ena ke ya.
So you might not have liberty,
O ka nna hloka tokoloho
but you
ena.
might be free.
Empa wena ya ba o ntse o lokolohile.
And when Jesus says to you,
Ha Jesu a re ho wena
thou art loosed,
o lokolohile.
he doesn't necessarily mean that he will change your condition.
Ha bolele hore o tla
He
fetola
might not take you
maemo.
out of that difficult marriage.
A ke ke a o ntsha ka ga lenyalo leo le
But he says to you,
Empa o re ho
while
wena,
you might have a difficult marriage,
le ha e le mona o ka hara lenyalo
But you are
le
free.
nang le mathata, empa wena o
in
lokollohile.
your mind, you are not longer operating inside the marriage.
Wena ka kelellong ya hao ha o sa sebetsa ka nyalo le.
The Bible talks about heavenly places.
Bibele e bua ka dibaka tsa
Have you ever
hodimo.
heard that word, heavenly places?
Dibaka
In
tsa
fact,
hodimo.
Ellen White says in the book Desire of Ages, she says,
Desire of Ages, Ellen White
she
o
says,
re,
heaven is a ceaseless approaching to God through Jesus Christ.
e re ke ho atamela ho dula o ntse o atamela ho Kreste,
In
ho
other words,
Modimo ka
before
Kreste.
we get to heaven, we start to experience heaven here.
Pele re fihlela hodimo sentse
So
re
we are
Modimo
still
hona
living
mo.
in this world with coronavirus and HIV and crime and pain and theft. We are living here. So we have issues of liberty.
Re phela lefatsheng mona ka taba tsohle tsa rona tse re di tsebang, e leng hore na le mathata ane a
But in our
phokolo
minds, we
ya
are
ane.
already operating in heavenly places.
Empa ka kelellong ya rona se re le
Are you
lehodimong.
seeing the difference?
Le a utlwa?
And I'm mentioning this because it influences how you act and react to serious conditions.
Wa tseba ke tjho hobane e tla etsa hore o nahane ka mokgwa o fapaneng ho latela ona
People
maemo
who
ke a
have
feng.
no liberty,
Batho ba senang tokoloho,
when they come across challenges,
ha ba fumana
They're
ha ba
stuck.
fumana mathata e ba di
they,
sola.
they can't transcend the challenges.
Ba sitwa ho hlola mathata.
But people with freedom,
Empa batho ba lokollohileng
they
ka
can
hare,
be sitting in a place where they can't move.
ba dutse moo ba ke sitwang ho
In their
tsamaya.
body, they are there.
Mmele wa bona ke
But
ona
their
moo.
mind transcends to another place.
Empa kelello tsa bona
And
ke
therefore, they
tsa-
are free. People can do things to their body, to their physical body.
e le hore batho ba ka
But the
etsa na-
spirit is
tsohle
no
nang le
longer
hore-
in that place.
Empa nama ya bona moya wa
I
bona
just
ha o
let
sa
me
le
explain
moo.
that. But I'll give you another example.
Ke tla le hlalosa hape taba ena.
Daniel and the Hebrew boys,
Daniel le bashanyana bana ba
where
Hebrew,
were they?
ba ne ba le hokae?
They were in exile, right? How much freedom do you think they had?
Le nahana hore ba ne ba le tokoloho e kae
All
bona?
the freedom in the world. How
Ba
much
na kaofela.
liberty do you think they had?
Tokoloho
They
ya
had
bona
no
le kae?
liberties. But this is how you see someone who is free, although they have no liberties.
O bona mona hore na motho
The
o-
king
o
says to
ipuela
them,
ka ele ha sena
the
tokoloho.
king says to them, I want these boys.
Morena o re ke batla bashanyana.
I want them to eat this food
Ke batla ba le
because I am preparing them for the palace.
hobane ke ba lokisetsa
Now listen,
hapa.
if you are in exile
Jwale o
and you get told
wa jwetswa
by the king
ke morena.
to do something as insignificant as eating,
O re o etse ntho eo e felo ka ho
What do you
ja.
do?
O etse bang.
you eat.
Ka nto wa itelle.
It goes without saying. I mean, what are you going to refuse the king?
O tlo hana ha morena a tjho.
But these guys were free.
Bashanyana bana ba ne ba
They
lokollohile.
said, with all due respect, O king,
Ba re ka nte morena ka hlompho yohle.
listen to them. We will not defile ourselves with your food.
Re ke ke ra etsa bang ra itshilafatsa ka dilo tsa hao.
And by the way, there was always consequences to them refusing the king.
Le ho hlake hore ha ba ne ho na- ho na le
But they
ntho
were
tsa hao.
free to make those decisions even in spite of the consequences.
Le- ba ntse ba tseba hore na ditlamorao
And
ke
so
eng,
when
ba
Jesus
ntse ba
says
entse
to you,
qeto
thou
eno.
art loosed,
Ha o thwe o lokolohile.
he doesn't mean that you might actually change from one condition to the next
Ha se go tla tloha mane
in
o
terms of the
entseng.
environment.
Ho latela moo o
But he
teng.
says, in terms of your mind,
Empa o ka kelellong
let
ya
this
hao.
mind be in you, which was also in Jesus.
Ba re kelello ena e
Before
ka
you
hloohong ya
came
hao.
to the
E ho
conference,
Jesu.
you were operating at this level of thinking.
O no nahana haka.
Now you are free.
Jwale le lokolohile.
Now thou art loosed.
Le lokolohile.
I ask that you operate at this level
A
of
ko
thinking.
nyolle mokgwa wa hao wa ho nahana.
Sometime later,
Ka
the,
nako-
the boys end up in the fire
Bashanyana bana ba iphumana ba le ka
because
hara
again
mollo.
they refused the king.
Ho ba ba ntse ba hanne ha morena
And the
a
king
bua.
showed them, you have no liberty.
O ba ba betsa hore hantle
They
le
said,
ha le a
"King,
lokolwa mo.
we agree, O king, we have
Ba
no
re,
liberty.
re a leboha ka nnete le rona
But
ra
we
tseba.
still have our freedom.
Empa ka kelellong ka pelong tsa rona ntse re
And
lokolohile.
he throws them in the fire.
Jwale o ba kenya ka mollong.
And even in the fire,
Ka mollong ka mona,
they still had the freedom.
ba ntse ba lokolohile.
So I just wanted to make a difference between freedom and liberty.
Se le utlwile he.
But let me give you my definition.
Jwale ke fana ka tlhaloso ya
Liberty.
tokoloho.
In fact, God says, and I walked in and Mekunene was talking about this gentleman called Moses.
Ke ile ka kena mona ha nne ntse bua
God
ka
says
Mose.
to Moses,
Modimo o ho
he
Mose.
sends him to his people in Israel.
O mo romella
He
batho
says,
ba
I
hae.
have seen the oppression of my people.
Ke bone hore batho ba ka ba
And I have
bogobe.
heard their cry because of the taskmasters.
Ke utlwile sello sa bona.
For I know their sorrows.
E le hore ke a tseba bana le
And God
mathata.
says the following,
Modimo o re,
I have come down to deliver them.
ke tlile mona ho tla ba
I have come down, listen to watch the words now. I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians.
Ke tlile mona ho tla ba lopolla pusong ya Farao.
And then he says,
O re,
to bring them up
hore ke
to
ba
a land,
phahamisetse
to the land of Canaan.
lefatsheng la
You
Kanaan.
missed this. God says, I have come to deliver them
Ha le a
out
utlwa hantle. Modimo o re, ke
so
tlo ba
that,
lopolla, ke
so
ba
that I
ntshe.
can bring them up.
E le hore ke tle ke ba phahamise.
God, deliverance means I'm going to take you from this level from this position
at
at the horizontal dimension.
Ko tlosa mona.
Deliverance means I'm going to take you from this position to this position. That's what deliverance means. That's what liberty means. I'm going to take you from here to there. But freedom means I'm going to take you from here to here. So freedom means God is busy taking us up to the level of God, so that we can think like He thinks. So all the plagues, the 10 plagues that happened in Egypt, many of us think, oh, that was for the Egyptians. No, that was God busy trying to pull the Egyptians, not the Egyptians, the Israelites up to His level. It was God trying to prove to them, the person that's calling you out and up is me. So the plagues, in fact, he says to Moses, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. This is God we are talking about. All he could have said to Pharaoh, and says, let my people go, and Pharaoh would say yes. But God says, no, I need to first show the people who it is that says to them, come out. And when I'm doing that, I'm bringing them up to my level. So when God says thou art free, when He says thou art loosed, He doesn't say, no, Pumile, from there you are going there. No, He's saying you are coming up from here to here. And when the time is right, we come up from here to here. And when the time is right, we come up from here to here. And in the end, where are we going to end up? On the sea of glass. So this freedom is not a horizontal freedom. Horizontally, you might remain. Horizontally, you might remain where you are. But spiritually, you're going to keep going up and up and up and up. And here's the thing. As you rise up spiritually, you're becoming better horizontally. As you keep going to the level of God, you become useful to men. Now let me submit to you. As I told you, I'm teaching. Let me submit something to you. You probably know it, but let me give it to you anyway. The purpose for our lives is simple. It is one, but it's twofold. To honor God and to bless humanity. And we touched it a little bit when we were talking about the story of Peter this morning. That when he got to the boat, when the miracle was achieved, the people came to Jesus, not to Peter, and said to Jesus, surely you are the Son of God. So I want to show you something. I want to give you an illustration of what I believe is our purpose on this planet Earth. This is what it looks like. And I'm deliberate, not like that. This is what it looks like. To honor God. And to bless humanity. The stronger our grip on God gets, the closer we get to our fellow human beings. That's why we are here. When God says thou art loose, He says, I want you to work on this one. And when this one becomes sharp and becomes better, this one becomes bigger. So when you were holding on to God, when you were starting with your walk with God, you maybe influenced one person. I often put it this way. When we get education, and God gives you matric. You call it matric, yeah?
LGCSE.
What do you, grade 12, standard 10, form 5. Thank you so much. So when God gives you matric grade 12, He has people in mind. It's never just about you. You benefit, of course, because you are the vessel holding it. If God gives you oil, who is the first person to charge the oil? You are. But then you must pour out the oil for the benefit of others. But you are the custodian and the one holding the oil. So He gives you matric, and with your matric you touch 10 people's lives. He says, wonderful, well done, good and faithful servant. I can give you more now. So He gives you an honors degree. Because He knows I gave her matric, and with her matric she did 10. What if I gave her honors? And so He gives you honors, and more people get benefit. He gives you masters. More people benefit. He gives you a PhD. More people benefit. That is what thou art loose means.
Ke yona ntho e bolelang hee, ke
The
hore o
closer you
Modimo.
come to Jesus,
Ha o atamela ho
the
Modimo,
more people benefit from your life.
batho ba fumana molemo.
Are we still together so far?
Ntse re le mmoho
So
akere?
that is why you are here, my sister.
Ke ka hona le leng
But
mona.
let's go to the story that's going to illustrate this to us.
Re ntse re ithute.
This is the story of Esther.
Re tla paleng ya
It is
Esther.
found in the book of Esther.
Bukeng ya
We
Esther.
will sort of start on chapter 4, but I'm not going to go and read verse by verse. I'm just going to tell you the story, and then we go home and rest, preparing for tomorrow.
Okay. Re tlo ho tloha ka chapter 4 he, ha ke tlo e bala empa he re tla utlwana e tsamaya jwang.
Esther
Esther
gets loosed
ke eo wa lekolo.
from the house of her uncle Mordecai
O tloha mane ha malomane.
all the way to the palace.
Ke yane o ya kae?
Listen, when God
we are
is on your case,
Ha Modimo a o tshwere
He
wena.
breaks all protocol.
Ntho e nngwe le
All
nngwe ya
protocol.
thala.
People are
Ntho e
going
nngwe le
to,
nngwe.
Bao Salah asking question, is this not, was this, God is
Karabo,
busy. He's
ha se-
taking you
ha
and
se
He's
ene-
going.
ha se ene elo, o
Because,
isa hodimo.
explain this situation to me.
Batho ba tla- nhlalosetse.
The king,
Morena,
the king holds a party
morena o etsa mokete.
and he brings all his big men in the kingdom.
O tlisa banna ba
And
hae
I'm not
kaofela,
pronouncing the
batho
name
ba
of the
hae.
king because it's just too complex. It's King Ahasuerus.
Ena eno.
Yeah. I can't pronounce that name because it's been a long day. The other one is Xerxes. It's just as complicated. The king calls a group of men
Jwale o bitsa banna ba.
for a party that runs for days.
O etsa mokete o tsamayang matsatsi.
And then once they have had enough to drink,
Ha se ba nwele
the
ho
king
lekana.
says, "Can you please bring my wife,
O re tlisang mohatsa.
Vashti, to come and parade here in
O re
front of
mohatsa
us?"
ka a tlo tsamaya mona le mmoho.
And what does Vashti do?
O etse ba mohatsa.
In South Africa, we've got a hashtag Andizi.
Wana.
I am not coming. Vashti says, "I'm not coming."
Mohatsa o re ha
Long
ke-
story short, she escapes death, but she gets banished out of the kingdom.
Check in it, ha
There's
o
no
la-
longer a queen.
Wa lelekwa,
And
ha
then
e sa
the
le
king, and then
mohadi.
they realize, the king needs a wife.
Jwale ba bona hore morena
So
o
let's
tsamaya
bring
mahadi.
a whole group of young, beautiful women from this area.
Ha re tliseng basadi banana bohle ba batle
I do
mona.
not think there was a shortage of beautiful women
Ha
in
se hore
Babylon
banana ba
at
ne
that
ba se
time.
bangata, ba ne ba le siyo ba Babylon
But
ba
this
bang.
is what I mean when God is on your case.
Empa ntate Modimo ha tshwere ho wena.
He will smuggle your CV in.
Sheba, o tla kenya CV ena ha o
He
sa
will.
tsena
I mean,
jwang.
have you ever gotten people like, how did she get?
Ba re o la hlopha jwang jwale mo.
There were people that applied here with PhDs and
Batho ba
masters.
apply-ile mona ka mangolo a malelele.
She's in and she's only got a diploma.
O tshwere diploma fa kenwa ka
When
hare.
God wants you there, my sister,
Ha Modimo a batla
He
mo
will
ngwana,
smuggle you in.
o tla o kenya.
And before they know it, you are inside.
E tla re ha ba re happy
And
ba
so
fumane ka
God
hare.
smuggles Esther into the kingdom.
Ka nnete ha ke.
And then
Ya ba.
she finds favor.
Ya ba o fumana.
One day when I have time, I'll come and talk about favor.
Ke tla le bolela hore
Favor
o fumana molemo
is
ho
not
ntho e
fair.
jwang.
Favor
ha
is
se
a
ntho-
beautiful thing.
Molemo
Favor
ke
is
ntho e ntle.
unexplainable.
Ha e
But
hlalosehe.
let me tell you, favor comes with huge responsibility.
Empa ke lebetse molemo o tswang ho Modimo.
When people look
O na
at
le-
you
o na le boima
and they
bo
look
tswang
at your
moo,
favor
le boikarabelo.
and they want it, they
Ha
don't
batho ba
want the
batla-
responsibility that you have.
Le ha ba se ba fumane molemo,
Tomorrow
ha ba
evening
batle
we'll talk about
boikarabelo.
Joseph, but I don't want to talk about him now. But he found favor, but for some reason the favor had liberty of his nation attached to it.
Le a tseba,
Esther finds favor.
Esther ke ena o fumana molemo ho Modimo.
Am I going too fast?
Ya.
This is the benefit of age.
Ha o hola.
You can stop in the middle of a sermon and
Ah,
drink some
wa
water.
itholela, o inwella metsi a hao.
It will come. Mordecai, the uncle,
Maloma-
remember
Maloma
they are in
Esther.
exile, eh?
Ha ke re la o
They're
pheha
not
ba kgolong
home.
batho ba.
They're not home.
Ha ba
So,
hae.
so the uncle gets word, the king is looking for a wife.
Jwale Mordecai wa utlwa hore
God
morena o ntsa batla
whispers,
Modimo.
God whispers
O
to
ntsa
the
batla
uncle,
mos-
let
mosadi.
just get her into that crew
A re,
of those
moke,
young women.
moke.
And so she gets put into the whole group
Jwale o
of
sa kene
beautiful young women. The Bible says Esther found favor with the guy that was looking after the women.
Ho thwe Esther o la fumana molemo le motho o ne a ntse a ba hlokomela.
And that is God. Because
Ke Modimo eno.
he's got a plan for her life.
Hoba jwale o na le
And
Modimo o na
that
le morero
plan,
ka
by
ena.
the way, has got nothing to do with her. You're going to discover just now.
Taba tsena ha se tsa Esther ena.
And the other women, and then I don't know these things, how they used to happen, terrible. But each young woman would then have to appear before the king.
Ebe he morwetsana e mong le e mong wa atamela
And
pela morena.
before they do that, they would have this boutique of clothes and jewelry
Ai, ho ka bewa
and
diphahlo
you
mona
know,
le tsohle.
all the beautification things you can think
Ntho
of.
tse ntle tse ka etsang motho a be motle.
Manicure, pedicure, this and that,
Kopanya
and
ditshenyehelo,
Botox,
manala
whatever you
ditshenyehelo,
want.
jwalo.
If you say this is what I want for me to appear, they will let you have it.
Ntho e nngwe le nngwe e batlang hore
But
o
the
etse
Bible
se
says,
right.
Esther and her maid, she was given a special room
Empa Esther
and
buang
special
tse,
servants to look after her.
batho ba kgethilweng
And
ba
when
mo
her
thusa.
time came,
Ha nako ya e
this
fihla,
guy that was looking after all the ladies
monna enwa ba
gave
hlokometseng
her
kaofela.
inside information.
E be le mo fa dintlha tse kae?
These
Tse
are
ka
the
morao.
things that the king wants.
Morena o batla ntho tse
Long
itseng.
story short, of course, she goes in
Jwale wa ke,
and she finds favor with the king.
jwale morena wa kgahla.
But except there's only one problem.
Empa bothata ke bona,
They do not know who she is.
ha ba tsebe na ke mang,
The identity has not been revealed.
ha ba tsebe na ke mang.
So in walks a foreigner
Jwale, le
and
feela le
becomes
fihla.
a queen in a foreign nation.
Jwale, e ba mo-
Because
e ba
God
mofumahadi.
has his children
Lefatsheng la
in this
baditjhaba.
nation.
Hobane Modimo
And
o na le
for
bana ba
him
hae
to
mona.
be able to look after his children in this nation,
Hore
he
Modimo a
must
hlokomele
put
bana ba hae
you
mona.
up there as queen.
O tlameha o behe Esther mono e le
And then, of
mofumahadi.
course, a fight breaks out between two grown men.
Jwale banna ba babedi ba lwana.
The
Ba
men
baholo.
fight,
Ba lwana.
and there's fire, and the sparks end up with the Jews being killed.
Jwale
The
baditjhaba
two
ba bolawa ka
fight,
baka la ntwa ena.
Mordecai and Haman have a fight, and for some reason they managed to get the king to sign a decree
Jwale, ha Mordecai a lwana le Hamane, ba iphumana be le morena a sa angotse
that the Jews must
molao,
be killed.
hore Bajuda ba bolawe.
Now, of all the plans that Mordecai and all the other Jewish men could come up with,
Malepa ohle bo Mordecai le bahabo ba
the
Bajuda.
only one
E le nngwe fela.
that made sense
E ne ba ka ithusa ka yona.
was to ask Esther,
Ke hore ba kope Esther,
a young woman,
ngwananyana ena,
to save us.
hore a ba pholose.
Let me tell you something that makes no sense.
Mamela,
Jews,
Bajuda,
those days,
matsatsing
even
ana,
in exile,
le ha ntse ba le-
didn't always see women as people who could offer more than just their womanhood.
ba ne ba bona basadi le ntho fela tse ka fanang ka bosadi ba bona fela.
A man would stand up and say,
Monna o na tla ema,
I have cattle and goats
ke na le dinku,
and
di-
tractors
dipudi,
and cars
le makoloi le
and
diterekere,
cows and wives.
le le matlole basadi.
In the same sentence,
Sentence e
the
le
wives
nngwe.
would be counted.
Re bala basadi
But
bana
when
le ntho
God's
tseo.
favor is on you,
Empa ha
He
Modimo
will
a
put
hodile
people
wena,
in a situation
o tla beha
where
batho
they
boemong
have
boo.
no choice but to come to you as the only solution.
Ba ipona o sena ntho e ka ba etsang ntle le ho tla ho wena, e le wena fela a ka ba
And
pholosa.
so Mordecai goes to the palace,
Jwale Mordecai ke enwa wa tsamao ya
and he
Palestine.
says,
O re,
people send message to Esther,
o re, romellang molaetsa ho Esther.
we have a problem.
Re na le bothata.
We are going to be killed.
Re tlo bolawa.
And the only person that can help us is you.
Mme ke yena fela a ka re
Please
thusa.
go and speak to the king for us.
A ko bue le morena.
Like any other young woman, and I always want to be a little bit vulnerable. I also would have been very, very afraid.
So ka nahana, o
The
na
Bible
tshohile le
says
yena.
she was terrified.
O re o na tshohile,
She was scared.
o na tshohile.
And then sent a message.
Eh, wa-
In
romella
fact,
molaetsa
she
le yena.
sent clothing because Mordecai had taken off his clothes and he was wearing sackcloth.
Hoba jwale Mordecai o na sa hlobotse diphahlo tsa hae, a aperetse
So,
mahashi.
so she sent
O-
clothing.
o romella
Please,
diphahlo.
please tell him to go away. Give him these clothes to wear.
Mo feng diaparo a tsamaye.
Mordecai says, I am not going.
E le Mordecai o hana
And that's
motho.
when he gives that rhetorical question which all of us know.
Ke mona ma fanang ka potso
It's
ya
in
ane.
chapter 4.
E re tsebang karabo
Who
ya
knows?
yona. Ke mang a tsebang?
Who knows
Ke mang a tsebang?
that you are at the kingdom?
Hore o
That
mona-
God
mona
has
moreneng.
put you in that position
Modimo o beile
for
mo
such a time.
bakeng sa nako
as
yona
this
ena.
one.
Yona ena.
Now that was not a question.
Ne se potso
That
ntho.
was a statement.
O ne a bua.
That
O
was
le
God
polelo.
coming with a calling card.
Modimo o na fana ka
Young
dintlha.
lady, you
Ngwanana.
are not here to bask in Persian beauty.
Ha wa tsamana
You
o tlo
are
ba
here
motho.
because I placed you here.
O mona hobane ko-
And the
ko
time
beile
has
mona.
come
Nako ya e fihlile.
for you to do what I brought you here
Hore
for.
o etse se ke itseng o tlo se etsa.
So when God says keep soaring, He is making you soar for such a time as this one. He's got a purpose for your
Ha
life.
Modimo a ntse a o phamisa ho tlo tsa
There
bona
are
nako e ka ena.
people whose freedom, whose lives depend on you.
Ho na le batho ba maphelo a bona a islile hodima hao.
Right at this point in time.
Ka motsotso ona.
Esther, maybe in her youth, she thought, oh, I've arrived.
O nahanne hore ke se ke
I have soared. I have been loosed from poverty, from being an orphan. I am now the queen
Ke ene o itse
of
ebile hore ke ne ke
Babylon.
le
She
kgutsana,
must have thought,
empa ke
I've
ne-
arrived.
se ke le mofani. O re ka
You
ba o
know,
sa fihlile,
and queens those days, they lived the life, eh?
a tseba hee ne ba phela
They
bophelo boo.
had servants everywhere. If you wanted
Basebeletsi hohle.
if you wanted somebody to wash you, you would have somebody to
Ha o
wash
batla ho
you.
hlatswa,
They
hlatswa.
had arrived.
ba se ba fihlile.
But God came and said, nah.
Ntate Modimo o re,
That is not why you are there.
ha se na lebaka.
Let me tell you why you are there.
O mona
You are here in the kingdom
o mona
for
moreneng
such a time
bakeng sa nako e kanyeng.
as this one.
Eh,
Because she's got a connection with God.
ka ha o na le kamano le Modimo.
Ask any more questions.
Ha ka botsa dipotso.
But I love what she does.
Ke rata ho
And this is
etsa.
I want to recommend as a practice as you saw.
Mme ke batla gore le nna le
Never
practice
do
ha ntse le
things
phahame.
from your own power.
O ska wa-
Let me
wa-
tell you something.
wa nahana
God-
hore o matla.
let me say this. I'm not prophesying. God is going to elevate you.
Modimo o tlo o phahamisa. Ha-
God
ha
is
ke
going to
prophet ke re Modimo o tlo o
promote you.
phahamisa, o tlo o phahamisa.
God is going to promote you.
Modimo o tlo o
But
phahamisa.
even as you rise in the ladder,
Mme ha o ntse o
don't
phahama,
ever do things from your own power and
ska
might.
etsa ntho tse ka matla- ka matla a
Always
hao.
call on God.
Hopola ntate Modimo.
And that's exactly what Esther did.
Ke ya ntho ya
She
Esther
sent a
ile.
message to Mordecai.
A romella
She says, go,
Mordecai molaetsa.
go, tell the Jews
Tsamaya bolellang
to
Badimo.
pray and fast for me for 3
Ba
days.
rapele, ba itimetse
And then she
matsatsi a
says,
mararo.
I and my maid servants are going to do exactly
Le
the
rona
same.
mona re tlo etsa
We are
yona
going to
eo.
pray, we are going to fast because this assignment is not a human assignment.
Hobane re
I
tlameha
cannot
ho
do
rapela
this
le
at a
ho
human
itimela
level.
hobane ena ke ya Modimo
Yes, I am
fela.
the one that must lead the process.
Ke nna taba
But I
ho etsa
need
taba
somebody
ena.
bigger than me to
Empa
walk
ke
in
hloka
front
a
of me.
phetang ho etsa
And
mosebetsi.
so after 3 days,
Ka mora matsatsi a
when we
mararo,
have consulted the owner of the project,
ha sa a buile le Modimo,
I will go to the king.
ke tla ho mo- ha sa buile le Modimo,
But
ke
she's
tla ho-
not blind.
Empa ha-
She
ha-
knows
ha
the
kopa,
risks.
wa tseba na o tla etsa jwang.
Remember, she is exhibit A of what the king does to a woman who does not listen.
Le a hopola hore o tseba hantle hore na morena o etsa
She's
ka
here,
motho a sa mameleng.
she's
Wa
here
tseba.
because another woman did not listen.
Hoba hona le e mong a sa mamelang a kena
So she
tseleng.
knows the risks of what she's doing.
Jwale o tseba hantle hore na
But
ha
let me
etsa
tell you
di tla tsa
something.
ditlamorao
If
di
God is for us,
feng. Ha Modimo a le ka hlakoreng
who
la
can
rona,
be against
ke
us?
mang a ka bang
So she
kgahlanong le
says
rona?
to people, I gotta go to the king.
Ebe hore ke tla ho
I will
Modimo.
go to the king.
Ke tla ho Modimo.
And let me tell you, ladies, I think the Lord is looking for women,
Ke- ba-
young and
bona,
old,
Modimo o ntse a batla basadi ba baholo le ba banyane.
who will go to the king.
Ba tla tsamaya ba
But
ye
before
morena.
they go to the king,
Empa pele ba ye ho
they
morena,
need to speak to the king of the
ba
universe.
hloka ho bua le Modimo.
Before they go to the kings of this world,
Pele ba bua le
they
marena a
need to
lefatshe
speak to
lena,
the king of the universe.
ba tlameha ho bua le morena wa baka sohle.
And then she says,
Ebe hore,
if I perish,
ha ke shwa,
I perish.
ke tla shwa.
But here's the thing that she does.
Empa o etsa hona.
The Bible makes a point of mentioning this.
Bebele e re,
She puts on her royal regalia.
o apara tsane tsa
She
mofumahadi.
dresses up as Queen Esther.
E ba mofumahadi
Because,
Esther.
ladies, there's a difference between Esther, the wife.
Wa bona,
In fact, she mentions, she mentions to Mordecai
o go mo dikae malomai.
that I have not been called in 30 days.
A ga ke so bitswe ka matsatsi a mashome a mararo.
Because you see, you wait for the king.
Hobane o emela morena.
You don't go to the king if he doesn't call you.
Ha o ye ha morena a sa o bitsa.
But what she's referring to
Empa ho
is I
bona-
have not been called as the wife.
Ha ke so bitswe
By
ke
the
mo-
king.
ke le mohatsa morena.
Since 30 days ago, I have not seen him.
Morena ha ke so mmone ka matsatsi a mashome a
But
mararo.
today,
Empa tsatsing le,
I'm not approaching the king as his wife.
ha ke atamele mo-
I'm,
morena ke le
I'm
mohatsa
approaching the
hae.
king as the queen.
Ke mo atamela ke le
And so she
mofumahadi.
puts on the royal regalia.
Jwale o apara
And
tsena
she
tsa morena.
steps into the courtyard.
Jwale o kena ka
I
hare.
don't know where the king was sitting,
Ha ke se na
but he
morena
must
o
have
kae.
seen the woman walking.
Empa o bone
And there was
mosadi ena.
something around her
Mme ho na le-
that
ho na le
told
ho
him
hong.
that that woman over there
E reng mosadi eno-
means business.
mosadi eno jwale o tiile
And that
ha
is
etsa
what
tjena.
God does to you.
Mme Modimo o etsa jwalo.
Here's the thing. She has just broken the law.
Jwale ha ke go sa tlotse molao.
So what happens when you break the law?
Ha o tlotse molao ho etsela bang?
There are two things that can happen.
Ntho di pedi.
The king stretches, if you break the law and you find favor with the king,
Ha eba morena a
the
ka-
king
a-
stretches his scepter on you
o atametsa lere la
and
hae.
you don't get killed.
Jwale ha o bolawa.
But if he doesn't stretch the
Ha
scepter,
sa atametse molamo wa hae,
you are dead.
so le
Just
shwele.
as you step in without being called,
Ha o atamela o sa bitswa.
you are dead meat.
O so le- o so-
And
o so
so
le-
while Esther was busy putting on her royal robe,
Ha ntse a apara diaparo
God
tsa
was
mofumahadi,
busy speaking to the king.
eba Modimo o ntse a bua le morena.
She's coming.
Hore o a tla,
Expect her.
mo lebelle.
She's coming.
O a tla.
So as she steps into this place,
Jwale ha a atamela,
the king is expecting her. And of course, he
morena o sa
stretches.
mo lebelletse, o sa
And then
atametsa lere la hae.
he stretches out the scepter.
Jwale o atametsa lere he.
But here's the most fascinating thing.
Taba ke ena.
She has not sent not one.
Ha so re letho. Letho.
Can I please tell you something?
Ha ke le bolelle.
In your rise,
Ha o nyoloha.
as you saw,
Ha o ntso ya hodimo.
keep quiet. Shh. I have a 2-year-old who likes to say, shh. As you rise,
Ha o ntso o nyoloha.
speak less.
Ska bua haholo.
Let them talk.
Banna ba bua.
Sometimes we get, and I speak from experience. You might imagine, I talk a lot. Sometimes the words trip you.
Ka nako e nngwe mantswe a tswa fela.
Are you the same? Oh dear Lord. Your words trip you. I'm going to tell you a story. I grew up with my parents telling fables. I'm going to tell you a fable and then we close and we go home.
Batswadi ba ka nna mpolela dipale.
But now I must try and tell it in English. It's a fable.
Ke tshomo.
It's about a turtle
Ai turtle.
and the birds.
Oh le bua le
Turtle,
Skolpad.
Skolpad, yeah.
Eh.
And the birds.
le dinonyana.
He had a friendship with these birds. You know these birds that migrate when the weather changes?
Nonyana tsena tse tsamayang ha
The
o
turtle
tjhesa,
and the
jwale.
birds had a friendship.
Bele skolopata sena le.
All right? But now
ke
the
lehodimo
weather
le
is changing.
Bele lehodimo le a fetoha
And
hee.
it was summer and they were all together having good time. Turtle
Ho
and the
monate
birds.
ba bele ke hlabile
Now
kaofela.
it's winter approaching.
Jwale e se le nako
These
ya
birds
hore-
don't do winter. They don't do
Nonyana tsena ha di rate
winter.
mariha
So they're like, oh,
mahala.
it's winter. We're going to fly to another place where it's summer.
Jwale di a tjho di ra-
And
ona
the
se re tla
turtle was so
hlabileng.
sad. Oh, Lord, I'm losing my
Ao,
friends.
Skolopata
Friends,
nna
I want to
ke.
go with you guys. How can I go with you guys?
Ke tla
The
tsamaya
bird's
le
like,
lona
but you should,
Maratu.
for you to come with us, you need to fly.
Ba re bele hore o tsamaye le rona tlameha
For
o
you
fofe.
to come with us, you need to
Ka
fly.
hore o hloka ho
But it's
fofa.
like, I don't have wings. How can I
Ke tla
fly?
fofa jwang ke sena masi.
And the bird's like, okay, we got to come up with a plan.
Ba hlopha boemo bona.
We're going to take a stick.
Ba nka thupa.
And two of us are going to hold the stick at the two ends of the stick.
Rona re tla tshwara
So
thupa
the
ena ka
one
dilong.
bird is going to hold the stick with the mouth here.
E nngwe e tla
And
tshwara
another
ka
bird is
molomo.
going to hold the stick with the mouth
Nngwe
here.
tshwara ka molomo ka ntle
You, Mr. Turtle, with your mouth, you must hold on in the middle.
Wena o bo so e tshwara hare mona hee,
We are
thupa.
going to flap our wings and we are going to
Rona
fly.
re tla fofa hee.
And as long as you are quiet, you
Ha
are
o
going
ntso
to
fofa-
fly with us.
O ntso o tla fofa le rona.
And so they get flying
Ya ba fofa.
over Lesotho,
Ba fofa.
over Maseru,
Ba ke ba.
over
Ya ba
Bloemfontein,
ile.
over Siskai.
Uh-huh.
And then they get over Siskai. Some silly boys look at this. Whoa.
Jwale bashanyana ba sheba.
Where have you ever seen a turtle flying?
Ba re lekile la
No,
bona
no, no, no,
skolopata
no,
se fofa.
no. And the turtle's like, you? These boys are silly.
Ya ba skolopata
I'm
sa
going to
kwata.
tell them
Ah,
what
ke tlo ba
I'm
jwetsa.
made
Ke
of.
tlo ba betsa hantle na mokgwa ke mang.
And all he did was open his mouth.
E itse ha.
Guess what happens? All the way down to the floor, crashed and died. As God picks you up, my sister, keep quiet.
Ya ba o shwe. Ha
Because if you open your mouth, you are going to crash and die.
bula molomo fela ke wena yane.
Keep quiet. So this woman walks in and she says nothing.
Mosadi no wa kena ha re letho.
And this is what fascinates me. She had not said anything.
Ha so re letho.
Listen to what the king says.
Morena o.
What do you want, my queen Esther?
O re,
I
mofumahadi
can
o
offer you
batla eng?
up to half the kingdom. She
Nka
has
o
not
fa-
asked for the kingdom. She
Nka o fa
just
leng?
appeared and God spoke.
E itse ha tla fela modimo a
Hey,
bua.
there are meetings that you're going to walk into.
Ho na le dikopano tse tla kena ho tsona.
And before you came into this meeting, they had got the plan hatched.
Ne ba
eh?
hlophile ona ba tlo etsa bang.
And you walk into this meeting and
Wa
nobody,
kena.
no, they all lose the courage to
Ebe
implement
ha
the
o
plan.
sena motho a reng letho. Ha ona motho a reng letho.
Because God's favor.
Hobane modimo
Is
mohau
all
wa
I have.
modimo bona.
Now Esther walks in and the king says, I will offer you up to half the kingdom. Let's remind each
Esther
other.
ha kena modimo o re morena o re ke tla o fa halofo ya.
Let's remind each other. Why is she here?
O tlo etsa mmausi.
Why is she here?
O tlo etsa mmausi. Ke batla ho utlwana o tlo etsa.
For the liberty of her people.
O tletseng.
For the
kgolo ya-
freedom
ya
of
ha-
her people.
ba habo.
Right? That's why she's here. But now she has not even spoken.
Empa ha so bua.
What's happening?
Ho etsela bang.
She's being offered half the kingdom.
O sa fuwa halofo.
How
ya-
many
ya
of us
morena?
here would have walked away with half the kingdom?
Ke ba mang? Ba ka beng ba teng.
And say, oh, I tried.
Ebe o ra, ke
I
lekile.
went in and I spoke to the king. I tried. What can I say? Because now she's got half the kingdom. She would allow her people to die because she's got half the kingdom. Running away with worldly riches and losing eternity. No. Keep your kingdom. I am here because God put me here. I'm here for my people. And we know the story. I'm not going to go into the story. Because of her courageous actions. She didn't perish. Her people didn't perish. She saved her people. So why does God say thou art loosed? To honor him and to bless his people. But many of us are afraid. Many, we said it this morning, most of us know that there's a calling in our lives. There is something that God wants with my life. But fear is crippling us.
Empa letswalo,
Fear is crippling us.
letswalo le re sitisa.
Now I want to leave you with this quote. Many of you know it.
Qotsule ke ne ke tla le siya
It's
le yona.
by Marianne Williamson.
Miriam Williamson o re,
They say Nelson Mandela said it. He never said it. But you know the quote? Our deepest fear. The young people know it. The young people know it. It is powerful. It's potent. I memorize it. This woman says,
qotsule e matla.
Oh, sorry,
haholo.
I'm terrible.
Ke- batho ba e tseba, nna ke e tsebe ka nnete, Chanada.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate.
Tshabo ya rona e hodimo ha se hore ha re a lekana.
Our deepest fear is that we are powerful
Oh, I know it.
beyond measure. Now you know it.
Yeah, Ho holo ho re tshabang ke hore re matla ka ho fetisisa.
Say it. I am powerful
Tho, ke matla.
beyond measure.
Ka ho fetisisa.
So you are not just powerful
Ha o matla
because
fela.
powerful is here.
Ha o matla fela.
Foreign people are powerful beyond measure.
Batho ba nyolwang ba matla ka ho fetisisa.
And then she says,
O re,
it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
ke kganya ya rona e seng bofifi ba rona bo re tshosang.
It is the stuff that shines within us that frightens us.
Tsena tse ka hare mona tse kganyang.
We
ka hare
ask
rona.
ourselves,
Ra ipotsa,
who am I to be brilliant?
ke mang hore ke be bohlale?
Am I talking to someone? We ask ourselves, who am I to be gorgeous?
Ke mang hore ke be motle?
We ask ourselves, who am I to be talented? We ask ourselves, who am I to be fabulous? You know, we think little of ourselves. And then she says, actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You're playing small. Listen, your playing small does not serve the world. We're not talking arrogance here. We're not talking arrogance here. But your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened. There's nothing enlightened. There's nothing holy about you shrinking so that people cannot feel insecure around you. There is this false humility. There is this false humility that we must put on. Otherwise, what are they going to think? Hey. Your father is the king of the universe. He's got the whole world in his hands. Why are you going around playing small? And then she says, we are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And then she says, for those of us who always say, it's for others, not for us. She says, it is not just in some of us. The glory of God is not just in some of us. It is in all of us. And I love this. I love this, especially for us as Africans. And it is my endeavor. As we let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. Is it Jimmy Swaggart? What he has done for others, he'll do for me. I grew up in rural King Williamstown. It doesn't get as rural as my village does. But you know why I push the things that I push? I'm pushing for the little boys and girls in my village to say, if God can do it for Sis Beauty, then maybe He can do it for us. So don't just do it for you. Yes, you can do it for you. But as you do it, there is somebody who's watching me and they think, God did it for her. He will do it for me. And she says, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. It is for freedom that Christ set us free. And he or she who the Son sets free is free indeed. God bless you.
Amen.